presented by Straub.
And a very pleasant good evening from the Stan Sheriff Center in Manoa, where tonight is the final regular season home match. It's senior night as the University of Hawaii Rainbow Wahine take on the rivals out of Long Beach State, the 49ers. And this is Game On, presented by Straub for Rainbow Wahine Volleyball. Hi, everybody. Scott Robbs, Taylor Higgins with us again, and Ryan Clay Suji. Glad you can join us tonight. And senior weekend got started last night as Hawaii took on the Matadors of CSUN, a match in which Hawaii won in 3. And we'll take a look at the box score from last night, guys.
And we talked about this last night. Hawaii's hitting percentage at .242. They did a really good job of really slowing down the Matadors with 7 blocks. And again, the defensive battle won by Hawaii. 49 digs on the night. But look at that, 10 service aces by the Bows.
So let's take a look at some of the highlights from last night. And guess what? Emily Maglio was magnificent again.
Yeah, she did a great job starting from the beginning. The connection was a little off in the beginning, maybe the first set. They had a couple miscues, but towards the end, she really started to turn it on.
Going to Maglio almost exclusively towards the end. The other middle, Natasha Burns, also had a fantastic night. You know, Natasha Burns is really establishing herself and solidifying that second middle position opposite of Maglio, getting more and more comfortable going behind the setter, like right here on that C set, a tight set that she maybe in years past couldn't hit as well, but looking a lot more comfortable going off of 1 foot. And of course, the serving game, we talked about it, 10 service aces last night, even for players coming off the bench.
Yeah, 8 of the 10 players had aces in last night's match. Hawaii with 9 service errors, but the aces, particularly in that last set, Hawaii had 6 aces as they pulled away and won it in 3. So let's take a look at Big West scores from earlier today. Irvine sweeps Cal State Fullerton, and in 5, UC Davis survives UC Riverside. So the current up-to-date standing, there you see Cal Poly. They're still up by a game and a half, I guess you could say. Their RPI is 21, Hawaii's 49 coming into the weekend. You look at Long Beach State, it's kind of weird to see Long Beach State towards the bottom at 4-8 in conference and 7-18 overall. So last night we talked quite a bit about possibilities for Hawaii to get into the postseason. We all, I think, kind of agree it's going to be difficult, but one way they can maybe open the eyes of the committee would be by winning their last 4, counting last night, and winning them convincingly. They did last night. Can they do the same against Long Beach State?
Yeah, I think anytime Long Beach plays Hawaii, it's going to be a great matchup. Long history there of good volleyball, good coaches, and this year they both have new coaches, so it's going to be a good match. I think both of the teams will show us a pretty good,
good battle. Yeah, I think for Hawaii, the one important thing is going to be kind of putting aside all of the festivities of senior night. There's a lot of emotion tonight, a lot of things that are happening after the match, but they have to remember they have to take care of this 49ers team first. And as Taylor said, a new head coach, a lot of overlapping storylines between 2 programs that have that rich history with each other.
Yeah, it's always fun when Long Beach State and Hawaii get together in volleyball and to talk about tonight and maybe talk a bit about the history of these 2 programs. Let's go courtside to Kanoa and Lisa.
Thanks a lot, Scott. Yes, Kanoa Leahy courtside with Lisa Strand. The history is enriched between these 2 programs. I mean, for so many years in the late 80s and 90s, Long Beach State was kind of a thorn in the Rainbow Wahine Volleyball program side. And what's interesting is now this situation, you have 2 programs with first-year head coaches. Both of them are alums of those respective programs and both taking over for coaching legends.
Well, it's just amazing that both of them are in the places where they're at. Talk about taking over programs that have been incredibly successful. Hawaii with 4 national championships, Long Beach State with 3. Joy McKenzie doing a great job, a setter as well, won a national championship, and Robin Ramos Santos, both of them exactly where they wanted to be, coaching at all different levels, playing at all different levels. First-year coaches battling it out.
Yeah, Joy McKenzie Furbringer, as opposed to Robin Amos Santos, because Brian Gimolero, who was the head coach for 32 very successful years, he announced his retirement, and maybe it was partly in response to Dave Shoji doing the same. Dave's was a little more immediately after the season. Brian took a little longer, in which case Joy McKenzie Furbringer, she didn't have the privilege of working with the team during the spring session, and so she came in much colder than Robin Robin did, at least by comparison.
Oh, absolutely. She came in late June. She was hired. She came in. She was trying to learn the players' names, their last names, where they were from, their positions. And she said it was really hard. It's incredibly frustrating. It was like fast forward real quick. Robin, on the other hand, got to come in and do the spring training, so she got a little bit of a jump start. But not only that, Joy McKenzie and her husband is her co-coach,
right.
her assistant coach, came in, and they've had injury after injury.
Yeah, injuries have been a huge story for Long Beach State. Ashley Murray, their top returning middle, Anna Tabrinka, another one of their top hitters from last year who they were expecting to be in the mix. Neither have played at all this season, and so they've had to go about this year sort of in patchwork quilt-like fashion, but they are coming off of perhaps their best singular performance of the season, a 3-set sweep of UC Irvine last weekend.
Well, they're starting to get stabilized. They've had 29 different lineups, and that is just crazy, and it just creates a lot of unknowns. And in our talk with the coach earlier this evening, she said, we finally have a little bit of stability in our starting lineup, so we're starting to feel real positive about this group of athletes.
Two teams played the first time in California back on October 13th. Hawaii would prevail in 4 sets, but there's just something about when Hawaii gets on the floor with Long Beach State, right, Lisa?
Oh, there is something, and it is deep. It is so deep-rooted that all these players, young and old, coaching staff, and I guarantee you Jim Malero is probably at home watching this as well. Maybe even Coach Dave Shoji. He's on the mainland right now. But there is something so deep-rooted, it's exciting. There's definitely a rivalry here.
Excitement in the air as well because it is senior night. 6 very special seniors for this Rainbow Wahine program will be recognized at the end of the match, and they will be bid aloha symbolically by this very loyal crowd here at the Stan Sheriff Center. We will see you at first serve, but for now, let's send it back over to the corner crew.
All right, thanks a lot, guys. When we come back, we'll focus on senior night, how it's only done in Hawaii. But don't forget, get inside the games with a bunch of guys that know what they're talking about and maybe a couple that really don't. It's Inside Access, but seriously first at 7 o'clock. Inside Access at 7:30 every Monday on Spectrum Sports.
Welcome back to Game On, presented by Straub.
And welcome back to the Stan Sheriff Center. There you see the seniors here on senior night, and we always talk about the special nature of senior night in Hawaii. We talk to the players and the coaches about just how special it is.
I think it was actually Cal Poly was one of the first senior nights I saw. After they do the lineups, they'll say like, oh, thank you for our seniors, and I think they give them like a flower thing, and then that was it. And I was kind of just like, well, it's kind of messed up a little bit. Like, they spend 4 years of their lives giving like majority of their time to the program, and you kind of just do that. I don't know why. I don't know if it's the culture or what, but like, it's just so much more special, and I think it should be like that.
There's more ceremony involved with ours, but I mean, with that comes so much more like meaningful memories. The fact that they get videos and time dedicated to each of them, and it's like the whole community has watched them play and contribute to the team, so then it's not only that we're saying goodbye, but really, I mean, all of Hawaii is saying goodbye too, so it makes it just so much more powerful to say goodbye together.
The fans are amazing, you know, they got all these signs for every single player. It doesn't matter how, you know, how many minutes you play in a game. I think the support from the fans, the atmosphere, like everybody still stays, you know, I don't know, it just feels like family.
Hashtag what?
That's our favorite hashtag, what? Brought to you by Bank of Hawaii. And what do you think tonight's hashtag's about? Senior night. Ryan, you go first.
Well, my hashtag is hashtag tradition continues. You know, this senior night, they incorporate so much things and so much traditions that have been passed on year in and year out, and it continues tonight. We're going to see after the match a ball toss where players decorate a ball that gets tossed in the stands. That started in 2003 with Kim Willoughby and Lily Kahumoku's class. Then in 2006, Kanoi Kamana'o's cousin Kau'i Kamana'o brought his halau. They danced the hula on the Terrac Flex after her senior night. Since then, every Wahine class have continued to do some sort of musical or dancing act. In 2005, the seniors began giving away gifts, Tiffany pendants. Teisapotu at the time never had anything Tiffany's. they began giving away senior gifts that are Tiffany gifts from that moment on. So a lot of tradition that goes on into senior night, and it continues till today.
And your hashtag.
My hashtag, as cliche as it is, it's hashtag once a Wahine. You know, and everyone can finish the rest. Once a Wahine, always a Wahine. But you know, the culture here and the support that the fans have, and not only the fans, but the alumni. You look at the coaching staff, there's 2 major alumni, the head coach and assistant coach with Robin and Ange. And, you know, the tradition, like Brian said, the tradition is big and the support is big. And once a Wahine, always a Wahine. Everyone's going to remember you. Everyone's going to, you know, support you no matter what.
That's right, and one of the seniors that is going to be honored at the end of the match is Savannah Cocci. And for Savannah Cocci, she's not only representing her family by playing for the Rainbow Wahine, she's representing an entire community. So Savannah, what is it like for you to be back home here at Farrington High School, at your alma mater, the gym you kind of grew up in?
It gives me butterflies, it gives me chicken skin, just because like everything is still the same here, and just looking back at, you know, all the work and the games and the tears that happened here, it's crazy.
Savannah Cocci's name will be etched in the UH history books and considered among some of the best defenders in Wahine history. But the legacy she leaves behind in Manoa actually began a few miles away in Kalihi at Farrington High School.
My parents were really big on me in sports, so even at practice hours here, they would make me run around the school, run the buildings out there, 3-story buildings. I would have to run the track.
It was her upbringing in Kalihi that helped shape Savannah into the volleyball player and into the person she is today.
For me, or like, you know, for some people that probably didn't live in Kalihi, they were probably looking at it as if it was a rough childhood, but honestly, it was fun. I grew up in the housing, so everybody knew everyone. I didn't have a phone, so my thing was just to go outside and play until you heard your parents call you to come inside.
As a symbol of her love and connection to her Kalihi roots and her family, Cocci has a permanent reminder of the place she calls home.
Me and all my sisters have it. So the Roman numeral is 4, and then there's ever written inside. And the 4 stands for the housing that we grew up in. And the ever is just that me and my sisters will always be together forever.
Nice job, everybody that came in, nice job. But you guys have to believe that we're winning tonight.
Cocci was the first Farrington High School player to ever receive a full-ride scholarship from the Rainbow Wahine, making her a local celebrity in the Kalihi community, with many that now see Savannah as a role model of what they too could become.
People have came up to me and said, you know, thank you for representing, I think, the local community. And, you know, all the local girls out there, I've been pushing the issue of, you know, you guys can go anywhere you put your minds to. Just keep working, fine-tuning your skills. And school wasn't my big area, you know, so I had to really work towards that. I'm just a regular local girl here, and it's good it's a good feeling to be a role model for some people out here, yeah.
There you see the numbers on Savannah Cocci, who continues to make records in those digs. We will continue to see her move up that stat sheet. But, you know, talking to Savannah, she really embodies that Kalihi community. She's proud of where she's from. She is proud of her family and the fact that she is a role model, not only for her sisters, but for so many who live in that Camp 4 housing. And she went back to Farrington High School where we did that interview, and she really was like a celebrity. Everybody flocking to Savannah, wanting to take pictures with her, wanting to talk to her. And Farrington High School is so proud of their graduate.
Well, you look at her career, and we just showed the numbers, and I guess the big question is, who's going to take her spot next year? Is it somebody on the roster now, or is it somebody that maybe Robin will have to bring in?
That's a really big role to fill, and I'm sure we can get someone good enough to fill her spot, but that's really big shoes to fill. Savannah's done such a good job, and like Brian said, she's such a great role model. Over the summer, she did a free volleyball clinic, and she did more than one, actually. It was maybe like 4. And a lot of girls showed up, maybe 200 every time. It was awesome.
So Savannah Cocci playing her final match of the regular season here at the Stan Sheriff Center. When we come back, we'll start focusing on tonight's opponent, the 49ers of Long Beach State. But as always, connect with Spectrum Sports by liking our fan page on Facebook, Instagram, or via Twitter at Spec Sports High or hashtag Hawaii WVB. You're watching Game On, and it's presented by Straub.
Welcome back to Game On, presented by Straub.
And we are back at the Stan Sheriff Center, where now it's time for the dashboard. It's brought to you by First Hawaiian Bank. We're going to take a look at the opponent, Long Beach State, and some of their leaders that we have to keep an eye out on tonight.
Yeah, the middle blocker, Ziju, you can see her numbers there. Her hitting percentage at 300. She was a freshman last year, really made herself known, coming on as a starter. And then also you see Patterson as well. She will be one of the players that will help lead the offense for this team. Another player that's actually not on there is Howard. She was a libero last year, but has moved into the hitting position. And she's just a dynamic player that Hawaii will need to track.
And a lot of international flavor on this year's 49er team for the University of Hawaii.
So we saw Emily Maglio last night. She was dominating against CSUN, and so I think we can expect the same tonight, especially on senior night. You know, everyone wants to play hard for their seniors, so we expect to see a lot out of McKenna and Casey tonight too.
All right, let's take a look at the season comparisons, guys, and what really stands out, or is there anything that doesn't really stand out, or what?
Well, you know, you look at the overall records, there's obviously a stark contrast in these two teams' records, but when you look overall, the hitting percentage is probably the one that will elevate and stand out the most. Hawaii hitting at about 250, Long Beach State under 200. That is not a hitting percentage you want for an overall team, but you can see their blocks there, Hawaii with a slight advantage. And I think tonight, though, the key is going to be a defense. It might be a defensive digging battle. Both these teams known for their backcourt play.
All right, these two teams last met on October 13th. Hawaii dropped the opening set. I watched that match. It was on TV, and Hawaii looked awful in that first set, and then they came back and they just steamrolled basically Long Beach State. You look at the numbers, and Hawaii out-hitting Long Beach State in that one as well.
Yeah, so again, it's going to be a challenge. I think for Hawaii, one of the biggest things is can they come out from the start? We've seen this team get off to slow starts. They've seen to resolve that issue. We'll see what happens tonight.
You know, since it was just last year where you were on the team, what was senior night like for you, getting prepared for that final home game?
It was full of emotion. You know, you don't want to let anyone down on senior night, but it's also really, really bittersweet. It's hard to say goodbye to the Stan Sheriff and the atmosphere and the fans and your teammates especially. I think that's probably the hardest part.
But I mean, in terms of the game, once it starts, do you just forget about all that and you just play volleyball?
Dave Shoji made that very clear that we had to focus on the game, and that's exactly what we did.
What are some of the things Hawaii needs to be concerned of tonight other than senior night and the emotions?
Well, I think there's just the overall letdown. You know, I think that's one of the things that they have to be prepared for is just coming in strong. I think the other thing is going to have to be patience. A lot of times when you're playing a team that's known for their defense, hitters can start doing things that are out of their repertoire. They need to just stay patient. Rallies may be long, but they just have to keep pressing and not necessarily try to hit shots that are going to force errors for the Wahine.
And on top of it, senior night, final regular season home match, and it's your rival. I mean, it's the team Hawaii fans, in fact, have only booed one team ever, and that was back with Brian Gimolero. It was Long Beach State. I don't think they'll boo them tonight, but it should be fun. Big crowd on hand. It's a whiteout. That's why Taylor and I have black on. The three of us will be back at intermission, but come up next, Hawaii, Long Beach State.